Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, due to some technical issues, this session has been delayed for a few minutes. Actually, some issue was there regarding the recording of the session, right? Actually, later on, this video will be available on YouTube. So, Institute is doing recording of all these things, and so that's why, due to some technical issues, the session has been delayed by 10-12 minutes. Okay. So now we are starting. Today we have to take the discussion of section B, that is Indian philosophy section, right? Screen share option is not there. Just I'm starting. Let me share the model answer for you. What is the matter? Yeah, now. Okay. So now formally we have to start. It is not. Okay. Now you can say formally we have to start the session. Actually, some technical issues are there. No? Okay. Now everything is all right. So we can start the session. And now you can see the model answers and all this. And then you have to listen to my explanation. No? So today we have to discuss section B, that is of Indian philosophy. See question number 5A. The question is, does the seed contain the tree? Discuss with reference to Nyaya Vaisheshik philosophy. So you know that the basic question regarding causation is, does the effect pre-exist in cause or not? So you can see two options are there. So you have to start in the way that Nyaya Vaisheshik would disprove this, that the seed contains the tree. Because the basic question regarding the causation is, does effect pre-exist in cause? Two options, Satkaryavad and Asatkaryavad, you have to address, and then you have to come to the arguments which are given for Asatkaryavad in Nyaya school, right? Nyaya Vaisheshik, the question is on Nyaya Vaisheshik. First argument, if it is pre-existing in the cause, then it will be kind of reproduction. That's why Nyaya Vaisheshika's theory is known as Arambhavad. Next point, you can say that if effect pre-exists in the cause, then it will take everything away from the efficient cause, the role of efficient cause. Third point, you can mention that why we give different names, and then you can say that can we treat cause as effect? Definitely not. Why we do not store water in clay only. It means these are the arguments which are given by Nyaya Vaisheshik school for their Asat Karyavad. What says that effect does not pre-exist in the cause. Here seed is the cause, tree is the effect. So you can say that effect, tree as effect does not pre-exist in seed or cause. These things are criticized by supporters of Satya Karyavad, Sankhya, Vedanta, and Mahayani Buddhist. Now it is your turn. If you have any doubt, then you can ask. May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next is, let me erase this, I think. Next is question number 5B. This is explain with reference to Nyaya philosophy the nature of Shabd as the advice of Apt, a reliable person. You know that in Nyaya school, 4 pramanas are accepted. So Shabd is one of the 4 pramanas accepted in Nyaya Vaisheshik school. Nyaya school, in fact, not the Vaisheshik. Vaisheshik accepts only 2 pramanas, right? So, but all verbal knowledge is not valid if it is originated from the authentic source, that is Apt, then only it can be accepted as valid source of knowledge. You can say that 2 types of words are discussed in Nyaya. You can say Vedic and Laukik. You can say scriptural and secular. The first one is perfect and infallible, but for the second one, it must be originated from Apt, that is authentic source. Okay, then you can say that in the end you have to mention about the 4 conditions which are necessary: Akanksha, Yogyata, Sannidhi, and Tatparya. So that way you have to frame your answer. Now it is your turn if you have any doubt regarding this. You can see the model answer on the screen as well. Words make the sentence and we react against the sentence. So how we come to know the meaning of the sentence? And then there are 4 conditions which are accepted, and they are Akanksha, Yogyata, Sannidhi, and Tatparya. These things in this question you not need to detail, because question is not on the 4 conditions which are necessary to understand, to know the meaning of the sentence. Question is on Shabd Pramana. Right? May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, question number 5C. 5C is really, you can say that, an interesting question it is. The question is on Samvaya. And what is the question? This is not a direct question on Samvaya. The question is on sufficient and necessary condition. No? Is inseparability, that is Ayut Siddhatva, a necessary condition or a sufficient condition for defining characteristics, lakshan of Samvaya, inherence, explained with reference to Vaisheshik philosophy. You know that two types of relations are accepted. You can say Sanyog, that is conjunction, temporary inherence. Samvay, that is permanent inherence. And Samvay in Nyaya Vaisheshik philosophy has been accepted as eternal permanent relation between two entities. As you can see, substance and attribute you cannot separate. Wood and table you cannot separate, where inseparability is there. But you have to be careful that inseparability is only temporary or permanent. If it is temporary, then it will be Sanyog, conjunction. If it is permanent, eternal, no separation is possible. They cannot exist without each other. No separate existence is possible. Then you can say this will be Samvay. So you can say that then you have to explain the necessary condition and sufficient condition. What example I give in my class? Fuel in the vehicle is a necessary condition, because without necessary condition, work cannot be done. That is necessary, but necessary condition is not sufficient. If fuel is there in the vehicle, definitely vehicle cannot move without fuel. But fuel is there. This is not the sufficient condition for the movement of the vehicle. So necessary condition that must be present for an event to occur. Well, the sufficient condition is a condition or a set of conditions which will produce the event. Now see that. Inseparability, that is ayut siddhatva, that is permanent eternal inseparability, is the essence of Samvay. So it is a sufficient condition to define Samvay, and a necessary condition will be Sanyog. Because Sanyog is not possible without you can say separability. Inseparability is needed for Sanyog as well. But this inseparability will be temporary. See, the connection of my hand with this marker. Temporary this is. If you talk about this conjunction Sanyog, so my hand and my pen cannot exist separately, but only for the time being. Now my hand is separate from the pen, right? So what you have to see, Samvay relation, one of the two entities can't exist without the other. One of the two entities can't exist without the other. Then only it will be Samvay. Suppose two balls are colliding, joining, but two balls can exist in separation. So that will not be accepted as Samvay. If one of the two things, like you can say substance attribute, like you can say substance action, like you can say whole and part, these types of Samvay relation, universal particular, one of the Samvay relation that is accepted in Nyaya Vaisheshik philosophy, means one of the two entities can't exist without the other. That's why the term related by Samvay cannot be reversed like Sanyoga. See, same example I have given. Contact of hand with a pen. Then pen must also be in contact with hand. But this is not the case with substance attribute. You can say that though the quality is in the substance, but substance is not in the quality. That's why it is said that while in Sanyog, two things can exist in separation. This is not the case in Samvaya. So hence you can say inseparability, that is ayut datva. Yut means the separation. Ayut means inseparability, is a sufficient condition for defining the lakshana of Samvaya. Your turn. May I proceed? Okay. Now see. Next question directly came from my test series question. I think in test number 3, I have given this question. Exactly same question I have given. Mostly questions appeared from my test series. But a few direct questions are there, and this is one of them. And the question is, distinguish between Pudgal Nairatmya and Dharma Nairatmya with the reference to the Buddhist philosophy. Pudgal Nairatmya and Dharma Nairatmya. You know, Buddhist theory is known as Nairatvad, Anatvad, Anatta. Sounds like no soul, but technically this should be mentioned as Anityatmavad. No permanent or metaphysical soul apart from the body, because somehow soul has been accepted here, and that's why you have to understand two, Pudgal Nairatmya and Dharma Nairatmya, respectively accepted by Hinayan and Mahayana. Pudgal, the word is used for consciousness, contrary to the Jain philosophy. So Pudgal Nairatmya means Anitya, not permanent. Pudgal means consciousness, means this body full of consciousness is not permanent. This knowledge, when we realize this eradicates, removes what? Klesha Avarana. Klesh means dukkha, sufferings, Avarana means clouds. And that is necessary for nirvana according to Hinayanis. Next is Dharma Nairatmya. Dharma, world is accepted as composition of Dharma, Dharma Sangat. Dharma Nairatmya means this world is also not permanent. So what you can say, that this will remove Geya Varana. Geya Varana. So Hinayani say that only Pudgal Nairatmya is enough. Mahayani say that along with Pudgal Nairatmya, realization of Dharma Nairatmya is also needed. So you can say that these are two explanations available in two major sects of Buddhism, Hinayana and Mahayana, regarding Nairatmavad, Anatmavad, or you can say Anityatmavad, or you can say Anatta. Your turn. May I proceed? Right. Now this is question number 5E, question on Charvak. Comment on the bearing of Charvaka epistemology on the rejection of transcendental entities by them. Simply you can say that how Charvaka's metaphysics is based on their epistemology, or you can say how their epistemology explains or justifies that no transcendental entity can exist. So you can say that the entire philosophy of Charvaka is, you can say, logically depending upon their epistemology. They accept that pratyaksham vivekam pramanam, perception is only valid source of knowledge, and then you can give this kind of argument. Perception is the only source of knowledge. Transcendental entities cannot be perceived. Therefore, transcendental entities do not exist. Then you can say that you have to mention about their materialistic metaphysics, and 3 sutras basically you have to write. Prativya Pastejo Vaivritti Tattvani, 4 material elements which are accepted by them, sky, akash, that cannot be perceived, so they will not accept. Then Tat Samudaya Sharirendriya Sangya, through them body and organs are formed, and then finally Tebhyesh Chaitanyam, means we can say their rejection of transcendental entities is actually based on their epistemology. Now it is your turn. May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is question number 6A. This is, explain with reference to yoga philosophy the nature of klesha. How does the removal of these lead to kaivalya? Klesh, you can say that klesha, they are the obstacles prevent a person from reaching the state of enlightenment, or you can say freedom from samsara. And that's why, according to Patanjali Yoga, kleshas are impediments to the spiritual growth. You know, when the chitta of accomplisher is impure, then it is continuously attached with the world, material world, and then panchaklesh. Then you have to mention the panchaklesh, avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, and abhinivesh, that is fear of death. And then you have to address the next part that is mentioned. How does the removal of these lead to kaivalya? How you can remove the kleshas? To remove the kleshas, you have to remove chittavrittis. Without the removal of chittavrittis, you cannot remove the klesh. And it is the very second sutra of Yoga Sutra, Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha. Chittavrittis are the cause, kleshas are the effect. And to remove the chittavrittis, we have to follow the Ashtanga Yoga. And that's why they say that kaival is the ultimate goal. And this is solitude, detachment, or isolation. And all the kleshas are, this stage, are ultimately removed. Since kleshas are caused by the chittavritti, so eradication of chittavritti is a necessary condition. And that's why yoga has been explained as Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha. And for this, Ashtangik Marg, and which starts with Yam and culminates at Samadhi or Kaivalya. Your turn. May I proceed? Okay. I think you all are watching the answer at the screen. And now question number 6B. This is a question on Sankhya philosophy and on Triguna. The question has been asked on Triguna. Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna, they are not accepted as guna or attributes, but they are the composite element of Prakriti, because they are substance in themselves and they have their own attributes. So you can start with Prakriti and Purusha, 2 realities which are accepted. And Prakriti is unity of all 3 gunas, Samyavastha. And this has been explained that Gulanam Samyavastha, Prakriti. In Prakriti, all 3 gunas are available in their extreme and balance form. Then you have to mention one by one. Sat, that is Prakash, light. its color is white, and you can see that various forms, you can say, such as purity, uh, transparency, love, joy, happiness, all these are originated by sattva guna. This is upward thinking, white in color. Then you have to come to raj. Raj, you can say that is mainly action or pravritti, foulness this is. And then you can mention that this is restless activity, and you can say that anger, jealous, all these pain, all these will be the result of rajaguna. And then you have to come to the tam guna. You can say ignorance and drowsiness and sleep and laziness, and this is dark in color, and this is darkness, resistance. All these points you have to mention that moha, right? And then these three gunas are related to all the objects of the world, and since they are originated by prakriti, so we can see three gunas in the objects of the world. So question is on three gunas. No need to give the arguments for the existence of prakriti or purush or evolution. You have to strictly write about the three gunas, and you have to mention that prakriti is a composition of three gunas. Gunanam samyavastha prakriti. Your turn. Right. Now see question number 6C. This is on Mimamsa. What according to Mimamsakas is the ontological status of abhava, absence, and how does one know it, explain and examine? You know that padarth are the ontological realities, and Vaisheshik has accepted 7, Nyaya 16, Prabhakar Mimamsaka 8, Kumaril Mimamsa 5, but Kumaril Mimamsa has accepted abhava as padarth, and Prabhakar, they do not accept abhava as padarth. So, contrary to the positive nature of other categories, abhava is negative non-existence. As you can give the example that if we look at the sky in the night, then we are as much sure of the non-existence of the sun, and there as of existence of moon and the stars. So abhav of sun in the night. But the question is, how do we know this non-existence? If we just said that a jar on the table, we can perceive it because non-existence is negative fact, which can not stimulate any sense of as a positive factor. Non-existence, sometimes it is said that it can be perceived, but perception is not possible according to Mimamsakas, because non-perception, anuplabdhi, they talk about, and neither it can be perceived nor it can be inferred. Inference is also not possible. What they say that this can only be, and by comparison and testimony also means, since knowledge of non-existence, absence is not possible by any other pramana. So they have said that one independent pramana has been accepted, that is anuplabdhi, appropriate non-perception, yogya anuplabdhi, that is the source of knowledge for non-existence. Abhav is metaphysics, ontology, and anuplabdhi is epistemology, that is pramana. So Mimamsaka say that Although Prabhakar Mimamsa, out of his 8 categories, he does not accept Abhav as a Padarth. And Kumaril Mimamsa has accepted Abhav as a Padarth in his 5 categories. And he has accepted Anuplabdhi as a Pramana as well. Nyaya Vaisheshik, although they do accept Abhav, but they do not accept Anuplabdhi as Pramana. They say that the knowledge of Abhav is possible through perception. Now it is your turn. Right. Next is question number 7a. This is question on the theory of error, that is Nyaya and Vedanta theory. How do the advocates of Anirvachani Khyati, that is the theory of Advait Vedanta, refute the position of Nyayikas and establish the position of Advaitins regarding the problem of error? Critically discuss. Critically discuss means after mentioning Nyaya view, you have to mention the view that is accepted by Vedantis, and then you have to come to the criticism as well. Although Vedant theory is criticism of Nyaya theory. You know that this is Anyatha Khyativad you have to mention. Like a snake in a rope or silver in a shell. Anyatha, that is otherwise. Otherwise, you have to explain in 2 ways. Elsewise, elsewhere. The presented object, that is rope, is appeared as elsewise, that is a snake. Means the present shell is appeared elsewise, that is silver. And elsewhere, represented object, that is a snake, is true or real at some other place. Means the appeared silver is not true here, is actually true at some other place. They have said that illusion is subjective and based on memory or smriti. Illusion is also qualified. You can say that both particular and universal and particular attributes, because brightness is a universal attribute of both silver and the shell, and they also have their particular attributes. All these things are criticized by Shankaracharya, Anirvachini Khyativad, on the basis of Etaddesh Vishishtatva and Vartamanatva. Etaddesh Vishishtatva means at this place, Vartamanatva means at this time, and that's why Shankaracharya and Advaitin say that Anirvachini Khyati, the appeared object is neither Sat nor it is Asat, it is also not Sad Sat or Sat Sat Vilakchan, both or not both. But here the critical point is, if the object appeared is not illusion, is not unreal, then it must have some sort of reality, and that must be Trikalavadit. But here the problem is that the reality appeared, that is a snake, is later sublated. Right. So in this way, you have to write the answer of question number, that is 7a. This is a 20 marker question, so you can see that the answer is bit long. Now it is your turn if you have any question. Right. Next is, yeah. Next question is on Buddhism. If everything is momentary, then how do the Buddhists explain the problem of memory and personal identity? Critically discuss, you know that. Memory and personal identity, you know that transcendence, transition, temporariness has been discussed by many schools of Indian philosophy. In Buddhism, you can see that impermanence, momentariness is there. And so, according to them, things are only momentary. They will accept that change is universal They explain continuity of a person through the different stages of different birth by identifying continuity of the stream of successive state compose his life, unbroken series of stairs. That way they explain through continuity. They give the analogy of lamp, as the lamp of one moment gives rise to the lamp of next moment. Each of these states depend on the condition just preceding. That way you can say cause and effect will come into play. Then you have to give the example of lamp. Flame of one moment gives rise to the flame of next moment. Okay. Then unbroken stream of consciousness, they accept the bundle theory of the soul. So memory does become explicable without soul as well. But you can say that since this is critically discussed, without accepting the eternal soul, neither rebirth can be explained nor the transmigration, and memory of man also cannot be explained. They have given the analogy, and analogy cannot be accepted as sufficient arguments. Right? Now it is your turn. May I proceed? No?
सर इसको एक बार और रिपीट कर
Okay.
7B.
See that the question is on Buddhist explanation of personal identity and memory, and they do not accept the metaphysical soul. So if they do not accept the metaphysical soul, then how they can explain firstly the personal identity and the memory? So what analogy they give? They explain this as the different stages of stairs. They give the analogy of lamp. Lamp of one moment is different from the other moment. I think you are the student of my class program, and then what example I gave? I say that this tube rod is continuously lightening or blinking.
Yes, sir.
This is blinking.
Blinking.
Change is there. But since this change is so fast, so it appears that the tube rod is continuously lightening. Likewise, the consciousness of one moment is different from the consciousness of the other moment. But since this change is so fast, so not only personal identity appears, but on this basis, they've explained the memory of man as well. But in criticism, you can mention that if no metaphysical soul is there, that is apart from the physical body, then rebirth and transmigration cannot be explained. And also, memory cannot be explained, because for memory also, the continuity of the consciousness is needed. Now I can give the example what I have given you yesterday. That yesterday it was a red shirt and black jacket, and today it is blue shirt. Who can say? If the consciousness of yesterday and the consciousness of today is same, it means some kind of synthesis is needed, or you can say the unity in the knower is needed. Knower must be the same, then only this can be mentioned. Memory and personal identity. They have given their analogies, but since the question is on critically examined, so you can say that without accepting metaphysical soul apart from the physical body, otherwise what you will say, that body is perished. If the body is perished, how the sanskar and vigyan, you can talk about the continuity between sanskar and vigyan. Right?
Yes, sir.
Next is a straightforward question, and this question is on Jainism. Explain the Jain view of sevenfold Saptabhangi Nay. In Jainism, you know that non-absolutism is the essence of Jainism. and relative, realistic, pluralism. Either you see there Anekantavad, Nayavad or Syadvad. Syadvad, you can say this is Jain theory of judgment or Paramarsh. We have to add the word Syad because you know that common man can only have the partial knowledge. So he cannot give his holistic judgment. So he has to add the word Syat before this. Neither means perhaps nor doubt. Actually, this means relativity. Generally, we accept two types of propositions, positive and negative, affirmative and negative. But here they have accepted 7. Firstly, this has been mentioned by Kundakundachar in his Panchastikaya Sar. Although in Bhagavati Sutra of Mahavir Swami, 3 Nayas are discussed, then you have to mention all 7 Nayas. You can say Syat Asti, Syat Nasti, Syat Asti Nasti Cha, Syat Avaktavyam, Syat Asti Avaktavyam Cha, Nasti Avaktavyam Cha, Asti Nasti Cha Avaktavyam Cha. Since no critically discussed has been asked, so no need to mention the criticism. Now it is your turn. May I proceed? I think this question is quite simple. No? Sometimes I think that is there any need to give the model answer of these types of questions or not? But since I am giving you the model answer of all the questions, so I am telling you that how to frame the answer of these simple questions. Even. Now see question number 8 here. This question is on Aurobindo. According to Sri Aurobindo, the awakening of the psychic being and its gradual prominence over all other parts of the being is the first step in the conscious evolution of the man. Conscious evolution of man. Explain and examine. You know that Aurobindo, in Aurobindo's philosophy, evolution and evolution are interrelated, and the essence of whole philosophy is integral yoga. You know, under the process of evolution, that is a present stage according to Aurobindo. This stage is mind, and next stage is supermind, which will ultimately culminate in the divine. He talks about matter, life, mind, supermind, and then Satchidananda. But the role of psyche and psychic being is very important in the philosophy of Aurobindo. What he said that the true self is unborn, immutable spirit of man that always lives in the divine plane. He is not involved in the world of ignorance. But he said that sends down a ray, spark of divinity. That spark of divinity is psychic. Psyche is spiritual in nature. It does not change its essential spiritual nature. Yet it is a subject to evolution. This element is inherent in matter and evolves toward the fuller existence of life. In man, this psychic being, this psychic takes from psychic being, which is in direct touch with supreme reality, that is divinity, the divine self. But man generally is not aware of this, his own soul. And that's why as he gets aware of this, then this will be the first step towards his divinity. Mind, life, and matter are instruments available to the soul. However defective they may be, because mind, matter, life, and soul are ultimately spiritually, metaphysically defected, but soul has to work in and through them for its knowledge and activity. That's why it is said that in spite of being spiritual and blissful, the soul is actually subject to mentality, mind, vitality, life, physicality, that is matter. And in spite of giving immediate awareness of the reality, this is not, you can say, complete and comprehensive. And also you can say its knowledge, its power is limited. So if it want to reach up to absolute knowledge and absolute power, soul must attain the supermind, that is the next level, and the source will be mind, life, and matter. So therefore, according to Aurobindo, the psychic being, awareness of the psychic being is the first step of conscious evolution. But all these things, you can say, it appears mystical. It cannot be proved logically. Argument cannot be given. So this way you have to write your answer. Right? Next question is on Shankaracharya. Compare and contrast the views of Shankara and Ramanuj regarding the status of the world. You know that Shankara and Ramanujacharya, two prominent commentators are there who wrote their Shankar Bhashya and Sri Bhashya, established Advaitavad, Vishishtadvaitavad. Then you can mention in two columns Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, accepted Jagat Mithyatva. Ramanuja will accept Jagat Satyatva, plurality of the world dissolved in the unity of Brahman. What he will say, that unity of the God is converted into the multiplicity of the world. Vivarta, Parinama, identical relation between Brahman and the world. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, cause and effect relation between God and the world. God is both material and efficient cause of the world. Shankaracharya sometimes is blamed for acosmism, but Ramanujacharya never blamed for this. Here you can say that relatively the falsity of the world appears. No such concept is there. World appears only due to the ignorance of Maya. World is created by Brahman, not mere appearance. So that way, only regarding world you have to mention the differences. Right? Now come to the last question, that is question number 8C. This question is on Madhvacharya. The question is, explain the status of Jiva and Jagat in the philosophy of Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya is popularly known as foe of Shankaracharya, not the Ramanujacharya. He is the foe of, sometimes it appears that Ramanujacharya is the foe of Shankaracharya. This is not the case. And loosely known as the founder of Dvaitavad, but technically his philosophy is known as Bhedvad, because even after accepting three substances, five Bhed, Ishwar Jeev, Ishwar Jad, Jeev Jeev, Jad Jad, and Jeev Jad. Now the question is on Jeev and Jad, that is. When he is explaining I am Atma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Madhvacharya said that these sutras are not written to establish the identical relation between Jiva and Brahman, but they establish metaphysical importance of Jiva and its difference from other realities. Similarly, the sutras like Ekmeva Dvitiyam, Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, they do not establish the unity of identical relation between Jagat and Brahman, but they only talk about the independent, only talk about that Brahman is one and only one independent reality. So you can say that Madhvacharya does not regard the universe of matter and the soul as the body of the God. But matter and soul are the different from each other and from God as well. So that's why he said that word is real, and so are the differences that constitute it. Difference is very nature of things. To perceive things is to perceive their uniqueness, which constitute the differences. Right? So that way you have to write your answer. If you have any question, then you can ask. Right? So today I am stopping this discussion, and for paper 2, what I will say that you have to wait for a few days. Then I will come on paper 2 and I will do the same thing for the paper 2 as well. But for paper 2, you have to wait for a few days, right? So that way we have completed the discussion and model answer of paper 1, right? Thank you. Thank you.